Cool.
Yep. So I'm hitting record. So the things that today, what we're going to cover or recover is you and I have done some work about some role played referral work.
Hmm.
Uh, we've talked about setting, a comedian, when a comedian comes off the stage, if he says, "Wow, that was a tough crowd," right? The whole point of the comedian is to create the mood, right? To create the atmosphere. And in sales, we do the same thing. So when we're going for referrals, right? Stimulus response. We got to create the right stimulus in order for us to get the right response. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework on your own. You don't have to do now. The homework was and is here. Hold on. It was Alex's notebook. It was Ignite. It was. Did I not write? I wrote the guy's name down. Who was it? All right, right. Search on YouTube. It's a bad title, but this is a guy that is a UK guy. He came over to the United States, and he uses what he calls Jedi mind tricks, or what we call mind control.
Yep.
And mind control is he creates a stimulus in order to get the response. Now he shows how to use his powers for good or bad. So this is just going to teach you that you can do certain things to get the response you want. So Darren Brown, can you see my computer screen or no?
No, I can just see your face.
All right, hold
Which I,
on.
mean, I really wish I was looking at the computer screen, but whatever.
Yeah, I got you. Hold on. Let me share my desktop.
There we go.
How about now?
Yep. But I just gotta zoom in here a little bit.
All right, so Darren Brown, you're gonna search
That's
mind
it.
control by Darren, Derren Brown. And what he does is he uses stimulus to manipulate the subconscious to get the response he wants. Now, what I want you to be conscious of when you're watching these videos is watch how his words are matching certain actions at the same time. And what I mean by that is uh, you don't have the time. Like he'll use something with the watch. He'll say something like, "You don't have the time, do you?" And when the guy goes to give the time, he'll shake his head up and down and be like, "You're happy to give that to me, yes?" Right? So that way the guy says he gives a yes and gives him the time. And you'll see that he'll say, "Hey, do you mind if I look at that watch? Can you take it off your wrist?" He'll take that watch, and then he'll say, "Hey, I'm looking to get to some other place. Can you give me the directions?" And he'll say again, "You want to give me the directions, don't you?" And the guy says, "Yeah." And he'll nod up and down. And then what he does is when he gets the directions, he puts the watch right on his wrist and walks away. And then the people, and again, I'm just showing you stimulus response. You're going to learn how to use the words tied with emotions to tied down actionable body movement actions to get more referrals. And again, Superman's greatest power is not, his strength, his invisible, like he can use eye beams. It's Superman's greatest power is his heart. And what I mean by that is I actually wrote this down because when you learn some of these tactics, Ben, it's very important that you use these powers for good, right? Because Superman could easily be the world's, like, if he was bad, he'd be a badass villain, right? Like, he would be unstoppable. I'm showing you these things, and so long as you use these for good and you have a good heart, then you'll really, really excel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go back into what we're talking about today. We're doing referrals. We've done a lot of coaching. What exactly would you like to cover? Because we've done some things in the past. What is it that you would want to role play just to catch me up?
I think what I'd like to do is role play the the interaction at the door, the end at the door, right? So you meet them, do the tour, the whole tour, come back around, and then you talk about the sponsorship program a little bit, and then the presentation after you do the price. Like, so you do the price presentation, that's done. They pick a membership, and then so those two chunks, right? So it'd be explaining the process the first time, and then asking for referrals. I'd like to role play those two scenarios.
So if I could say this back to you, just to make sure I'm on the same page. So right before we do the presentation, there's 3 steps to our referral process if you want to dominate. Right before you do the price presentation, we just introduce it for like 30 to 60 seconds. You want to
Yep.
role play that?
Yep.
Okay. And then you want to skip the price presentation and you want to role play step 2, which is no matter how many they give, no matter how many referrals they give, you're going to gamify it and get one more. That's the step that you also want to role play.
Yeah, but I want to, in that step, I want to include the actual asking for referrals too, like getting them to take the pen.
Okay, so write this down right away. We're not requesting, we're requiring. We're not asking, we're telling them they have to. There's a big difference. All right? It's not, and I want you, and you're not going to communicate this to the member as if it's mandatory, but I want in your mindset, instead of it saying it's a request, it's a requirement. Like, you need to shift those gears right now. Okay? So it's not a request, it's a requirement. This car is just, oh my God. This car is just pushing the shopping carts right into mine right now. Sorry about that. But so we'll get into that. So step 1 is there's 3 key phrases. Now, the reason why we use 3 key phrases is in order to dig into the subconscious. We have to tap into the subconscious gets triggered with emotions, right? And that's how it comes out into fruition into your conscious. So the reason why I use 3 key phrases is Dan Kennedy, who's an amazing marketer, tells you to dig into the subconscious with 2 or 3 statements. So we use these 3 statements. I've used these 3 statements. If you come up with a different statement where it taps into the subconscious and it works, great. But what you're trying to do is tap into the emotion of the subconscious. So we use 3 key phrases. We use the sponsorship program, because we like the word sponsorship as opposed to referrals. When somebody says referral, they go back to the time they referred somebody for Encyclopedia Britannica, a vacuum, and they got their family members and friends got harassed. So using the word referral trigger, it's almost like using the word deal. We don't use the word deal. We always use the word opportunity. We don't use the word cost. We use the word investment, right? So we use sponsorship program, right? This is something that's elite. Like, it creates it taps into a subconscious of, oh, I've never heard of a sponsorship. It creates curiosity, right? So I use sponsorship program. We use red carpet treatment because people are tied to celebrities and movie stars for the most part. Not everybody is, and I get that. But our job as salespeople is to cater to the masses, not to the small amount of people, right? So I use, in my experience, this is just something we came up with that I've it's worked well. If, again, you come up with something else, cater to the masses. We use red carpet treatment. And then the last thing is it's called transitional phrasing. We use all that aside. So after you're done talking about this 30 to 60 seconds of introducing what the sponsorship program is and what we do, you need some transitional phrasing to go into what you were really going to do, which was price present. So you can't just go from, hey, that's our referral program. By the way, here's option A or option B for the memberships. It becomes awkward. So you just need some good transitional phrasing. And one of the best transitional phrasing that Dan Kennedy would teach you is when you use the phraseology, all that aside. And what he actually teaches is when you take your body language, and when you watch that guy, Darren, he uses body language at the same time. And what I've kind of shared with you is when you take your hand and wipe your face clean, it's literally a great transition of emotion. Hey, all that aside, what'd you think about the club? So I literally do this when I'm doing my tour. And so to me, if we're going to role play this whole situation, if you want, this is what I do. Would it help you if I show you literally word for word what I do? And it doesn't have to be word for word, but it's pretty close to, if I was in the club 8 years ago, 2 years ago to right now, this is pretty much what I would say. Would that help you if I did it?
Well, I think that we've done that part a lot, and I think I'd really like to do the practice on my end because I have some pretty good notes, and not quite word for word what you've used in the past, and I kind of took some time this morning to kind of tweak it a little bit and write it in kind of a way that I think would be comfortable for me to say without really betraying the intent of it. But I think that because we've done that half of it where you've kind of shown me that bit a bunch of times and it ends up getting spread out by time and I kind of have to recap. I feel like I don't capture it 100% because I don't get to put it into action as much. So I'd like to kind of focus on, and even if it's just, if whatever you think after we do it, maybe if you feel like maybe you're a little refresher and get back to the essence of it, that's fine. But I'd like to just give it a go and then see what your thoughts are. And then maybe we can kind of spot critique as necessary.
Absolutely. 2 things that I want you to accomplish. So you have the system for it. Now, as if you were coaching this, there's 2 tidbits that I would want you to teach your team. Number 1 is you have to tap into the subconscious and break whatever emotion is of doubt, fear, closed-mindedness, and you have to create curiosity, open-mindedness, and you have to you poor choice of words, it's my mass accent coming out, but you have to create curiosity, open-mindedness, and you, with the whole purpose of this, have to create an emotion of comfort, right? Trust. So this little thing that you're about to do should be no longer than 30 to 60 seconds. If you spend any more time in that, the whole purpose is just create curiosity, open-mindedness, and trust. That's it. You're not trying to close them, so don't overkill it. Just focus on those 2 or 3 things right there. All right? So using the system that we have right here, go ahead and see what you got. So we've done the tour. So we're role-playing it. We've done the tour. We're walking back towards the and
Yep.
when you walk back towards the front, again, the emotion is it's coming to an end. We're coming to fruition. We're almost done. We're coming up to finalities. There's a reason why we're doing it in the end, because you're just creating more curiosity, right? So you're walking towards the end, you're coming towards the front. Go ahead.
All right, Alex. So that's the club, man. And the one last thing that I wanted to chat with you about, I did almost forget. We have this amazing sponsorship program. It's actually one of the biggest perks that you have as a member. You can actually invite your friends and family into the club to start their fitness journey for 2 weeks, absolutely free. We're going to roll out the red carpet for them. I'm going to give them some free time with one of our coaches to make sure they get started right. And they're going to have a full access membership for those 2 weeks. Here's the catch. I don't like negative people. So I really only want to talk to the positive people in your life, or maybe the people who are looking for a little bit of positivity, right? To come in and get that VIP experience. So all that aside, what did you like about the club?
Perfect. All right, great. How did you feel about that?
I mean, I just kind of put together my pseudo script today, so I know I was reading off of it. So I mean, I'm like hyper aware that I'm glancing eye to eye, from screen to screen. I mean, it felt good. One of the things that I guess I tend to have a trouble with when we translate some of the sales stuff to what I'm doing, some of the words, I think because of what's in the back of my head, tend to feel disingenuous. So that's why I kind of took it and tweaked it a little bit. None of this felt disingenuous. Everything here is 100% honest. It's not, to me, it doesn't come across even in the back of my mind as like manipulative or anything like that. I had a hard time when I was trying to figure this out, transitioning from that blurb to all that aside. I know that all that aside is the transitional phrase, but the ending, and even like, so I used to write like short stories and stuff like that a lot. Like I haven't published it, but my sister and I wrote a novel together. I always have a hard time ending a sentence. Like that's like where I struggle in writing. So like that was the only part I kind of felt would be the biggest thing I might want to tip on, is how to translate from the blurb to all that aside, because that just feels really sudden to me.
So 2 tips I'm going to give you. We're going to role play the same thing that you just said. This time around, I want you to slow down and work on your tonalities. Like speak slower. And so when I say slow it down, even if it's rehearsed or typed out, when you slow down, it creates more empathy. It creates more genuine feelings when you go as fast as you did. And I get we're role playing and you just want to go through. But if we're really role playing, pretend I'm the customer and slow down. The last thing is, anytime you're having a hard time with transitional, like from going from one topic to the next, use tonalities. I mean, you could literally just stop a sentence if you use proper tonality. And let me give you an example. I just did it right now, didn't I? I'm still doing it again, aren't I? Right? So if you use proper tonality, it can be a nice segue to transition. Now, what I will say is if you can combine that with a body language. So if you have your arms crossed or your hands together, break them apart, because what that does is breaks from the subject you're talking about and then bring them back together. So, hey, Ben, all that aside, what did you, and I'm pointing at them, what did you like most about the club? And then I bring my hands back together, right? So you want your body language. And again, I know this is super, super, super broken down, but the reason why I go like this is one of the techniques that Dan Kennedy taught us as marketers, is you want your body language to match what you're saying. When you do that, you'll have people match up their subconscious to someone they know and trust. So watch, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. And this is what Dan Kennedy taught me. So if I said, hey, Ben, you really like the club, don't you?
Right. Yeah. Immediately negative.
Right?
Comes across way different.
It doesn't match, right? So when you can subconsciously have your body language match consciously what you're saying, you come across in a very natural, fluid, someone you can trust type person, and it taps into their conscious, and they won't even know it. They're just tuned into the frequency you're getting. Does that make sense to you?
For sure.
All right, so watch this. Does that make sense to you?
Right. Yeah. A little different.
All right, that makes sense to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so you're aware of what I'm doing. So the two tips again I'm going to say is let's do that whole scene again, right? Slow down, use your tonalities, and when you're going from one subject to the other, do something to break apart. So all that aside, Ben, and when you do a point, never point with somebody like this because that creates a negative emotion. Hey, Ben, you're in trouble, right? When you point, say open hand point or 2-finger point. Hey, what did you think about the club, right? Again,
it's funny you use a 2-finger point because it's like a military thing. Like this is bad. Like 2 fingers is like
open hand.
intense. No, I
open hand. Yep. Open hand. When you point open hand, it's like royalty, right? So I'm telling you, these are stimulus response items, and if you do it wrong, this can lower. It won't be a definite no, but this will decrease your probability of success. So if we're really talking about, hey, Alex, how do I get to 4 or 5 referrals per person? Man, I'm gonna tell you. I oversimplify it. I sit there and say, I mean, you can see my screen, right? I simplify and say it's 3 steps, but I don't tell you guys. And it's something where, again, Superman best power is not his X-ray vision. He's not those aren't his best powers. His best power is his heart because he uses all his powers for good. So these techniques that I'm teaching you, if I teach you and you use them for bad, you understand that that's on me, right? So we've worked enough with each other where I can now open up the vault a little bit and open up what the secret sauce, so to speak, is. But when you have this script or any other script that you have and you match your tonalities, your speed, your volume, your body language, which is the most important one, right? I mean, look at how my eyebrows accent when the body language is the most important. Look at my eyes widen, right? Like this, it's so natural for me now that I don't even know what and this is what you can do. So let's try and do this time to make sure that your body language matches up. I want you to mouth what it is you're doing with no words. And because we're recording this, you'll be able to look back at your body language with no words. And I want you to see the emotion you create. Then right on the heels of that, we'll cut scene. And then I want you to mouth it again. But I want you to do it with the body language again. Does that make sense to you?
So I'm going to read my scripts, try to slow down with the tonalities without making any noise.
Yeah, and I want you to
mouth the words.
And I want you to see, like, just do it as you normally would.
Okay.
I just want you to do it as you normally would, like. Right. So that's how I imagine you might be. Now, me, if I was to do it differently, I create and try and look at the camera too, by the way, if you can, right? Mm-hmm. Right? You see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so try that, as corny as it is, but this is the exercise we do with Dan Kennedy. Try that. So go ahead, let's do it.
So weird. It's just not. Yeah, it's awesome. All right.
All right, so I couldn't make anything out, but I could tell when you were transitioning into the other one. We're going to leave that for your review, and I'll let you analyze it and see how you feel about your own body language. Now what I want you to do is focus on tonality and slowing your tonality and speed. So slow your speed down. Do the same pitch again. So this will be the 3rd time we've done it. Try and use your hands a little bit more and look directly at the camera and say the same thing, but focus on slowing down, creating pauses. When you create a pause, it creates curiosity. And slow down, create pauses. And if you can, increase your tonality a little bit on certain words. Just so if it's easier for you, just so you know when you're sitting down, your body's energy is very set and it's very at ease. For me, if we were to do this exercise, do it how you normally would, and then if we stood up and did it, you'll hear tonalities come out very differently, right? So let's stay sitting down. Let's do it one more time. This time, incorporate a little bit of tonality and slow down the speed with your cadence. Go ahead.
All right, Alex. So that's the club, man. And the one last thing I wanted to chat with you about, I almost forgot. We have this amazing sponsorship program. It's one of the biggest perks that you have as a member. You can actually invite your friends and family into the club to start their fitness journey for 2 weeks absolutely free. We're going to roll out the red carpet for them. I'm going to give them free time with one of our coaches to get started right, and they'll have a full access membership for the 2 weeks. So here's the catch. I don't like negative people, so I only want the positive people that are in your life, or maybe the people who are looking for a little positivity to come in and get our VIP experience. All that aside, what did you like about the club?
Boom. How'd you feel about that?
Better. I mean, I wonder if I got away from the script, if I would be able to kind of keep to the same intent. I feel like I wonder at what point is it being a crutch that I'm like, because I feel like there's other times when I could not do it. You know what I mean? Like I obviously don't have a script when I go talk to them. I feel like some of the stuff I'm on. So at some point I need to try it without the script and see if I can kind of keep to the same intent.
So you're still focused on the script. I want to show you something. I'm going to read it back to you, and I'm going to do it my way. What I want to focus on now, we're recording this. When you record this, I want you to watch the way that you delivered the message. You did great with your hands. Smile more, especially when you're focusing on what you don't want, because you ever been in high school or in life where there's that one guy or one gal that can always say what they want and they get away with it? It's because of the way they deliver their message, right? And so when you delivered the message, and I'm being hypercritical here, hypercritical. But if you really want to dominate referrals, when you deliver messages, watch what happens when I smile. And when you rewatch this again, watch the difference in between what you say and what I say. And it's not the content, it's the emotions that we create with our facial expression. Now, I don't know if you know this, but do you feel like you were smiling at all when you did yours?
I'm sure that I was probably going in and out. I feel like whenever I was looking at the script, I felt more like focused, almost like I was more. So I feel like I might have been going in and out. I'm sure that was kind of a weird thing.
I say I'm going to do it, and I won't even look at the script. I can't cover the screen, I guess, but my script is over here. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to key in with the 3 phrases. So it might be a little different or anything like that, but I'm going to key in with the 3 phrases. It's going to be roll out the red carpet treatment, all that aside, and sponsorship, VIP sponsorship program, right? Mm-hmm. And what I want you to do is key on my eyes, key on my teeth, like if I'm showing my lip, my smile, right? And again, you ask for the hypercritical coaches. So these are the things that you create and you tap into. So when I'm saying break your hands apart, keep in mind your face is also body language too, right? 85% of information, arguable, whether it's 70%, 90%, whatever it is, 85% is nonverbal, right? So check it out. Hey, Ben, well, that's our club. And, oh, you know what? I almost forgot. One of the best parts about being a member of our club is we have a VIP mini sponsorship program. And what that is if you wanted to sponsor any of your friends or family members, and we could talk about that later, but if you wanted to sponsor any of your friends or family members, we actually roll out the red carpet treatment for them where they get to test out the club for absolutely free. They have full access to the club. And, you know, what we can do is just give them full reins. And if they want to join, cool. If not, no harm, no foul. But the one catch, right, and there's always like a catch, and it's my personal catch, really, is I love being surrounded by positivity and like-minded people, as I'm sure you probably do too, right? Right? Okay. Well, the one catch is just don't bring me any negative Nancy's. I mean, if they're truly negative, we don't want working out to feel like another job. So if they are positive, bring them in. If they're not positive, but you feel like being in this environment can get them positive, bring them in. But hey, all that aside, what did you think about the club? What did you like most about it? Okay, so I'm cutting scene. Mm-hmm. Now you can look back at that if you want. And again, what I want to do now is try not to look at your script. Mm-hmm. Try and just focus on the key phrases. Try and smile. Try and use your body language. If you get jumbled up, don't worry about it. Smile through it. Be like, oh, you know what? I just get so excited. Like, allow yourself to make a mistake. You know what? I just get so excited talking about this that sometimes my words get jumbled. Like, say that and say what I'm really trying to say, Alex, is blah blah blah. So you can actually correct yourself. But if you're doing it with a smile and you're doing it with body language, it won't matter what you say because you're just creating an open-minded subconscious. Does that make sense? That's the whole point, is creating an open-mindedness, curiosity. We don't want them to buy anything. We don't want them to give us any referrals right now. We're just starting to unlock their subconscious a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If I said to you right now, hey, can you use those 3 key phrases? Focus on your tonality, your speed, and smiling more with your hands. Do you think you could do that right now and kind of bust through it?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I found that when I was sitting here doing it, I kept reaching towards this pen that's in front of me. Like, I know I do use my hands when I talk a lot. I know I'm fidgety sometimes, so I'm going to get rid of it so I can't pick it up, because I realized I wouldn't have this if I was over there. So I just kept my hand kept gravitating towards it, so I'm just going to put it over here so it's not distracting me.
Okay. One
thing I did notice about, I know you were going off script, obviously. Yours was like, it was just a little bit at times in a good way, like rambly, like where you it was like almost like a charming kind of ramble, you know, where like if you come off as like super polished, super professional, every word in its place, I think that can be either a little bit intimidating or it can feel scripted. But yours kind of, you know, you'd almost like, I don't know if it's deliberate or that's just your way of doing it. It felt like it was deliberate stumbling almost to create a kind of a relatable atmosphere, I guess.
So what I do is we go on, we call them diatribes or storytelling. And you don't want to create too much storytelling because the customer goes into trance mode. And there's certain times you want to create that trance mode, and there's certain times you just want to create curiosity. The reason why I kind of go on small little diatribes is I don't want it to be like, again, if you try and stay on the script, Sally may come in, sign up and send your referrals, and then you go and do it again. And if you say the exact same thing, it sounds scripted. So instead of focusing on the script, what me and you were talking about, and the script helps for people with no experience, by the way, it gives them confidence, right? But instead of going on the script, what we're talking about right now is take the 3 key phrases, focus on what your objective is, and your objective is to create open-minded, unlock their subconscious. So you can do a little bit of a diatribe if you want to, so long as it is focused and centered on creating curiosity, open-mindedness, and trust. So when I talked about, when I mentioned, you know, you can invite your friends and family members here, you know, but you know, do me a favor, and this is more of a me thing. You know, I just don't like negative people. And I'm sure you don't either, do you? No, you like being around positive, like-minded people, right? So I'm digging in and I'm trying to get that yes, that subconscious yes. I mean, and they'll be in trance mode, because if I say it's just a me thing and it's not really like a policy thing, that's storytelling, and they go into trance mode. So when you go into trance mode, that's when you use your tie down and you say, you know, everybody loves being around like positive, like-minded people. Yes. And that's when you get the subconscious. Yes. And then you go right into, well, what we do here is we roll out the red carpet. So I don't know if I do it consciously. It's just a habit, but I also don't want to sound the same to every single person. So my words will be close to the script, but you'll hear sponsorship program, red carpet treatment, and all that aside every single time. And the goal is for you, Ben, to tap into their subconscious. You're not getting them to commit to anything right yet. That comes in a step 2. So you're just unlocking their subconscious. So you could do a small storytell. Again, keep it within 30 to 60 seconds if you can, because you don't want to create too much trance. Go ahead, try it.
All right, Alex. So that was the club, man. And the one last thing I did want to talk to you about, we have this amazing sponsorship program. It's actually one of the biggest perks that you have as a member here. What you can do is sponsor your friends and family members. They can come into the club for 2 weeks for free. We're going to roll out the red carpet for them. And what that means is, you know, we're going to hook them up with a coach. They're going to be able to use the app. So it's like a full access, you know, membership. And so the one catch on that really is that, you know, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of negative people, you know, and obviously it's not the kind of people that you probably want in the gym either, right? You want to be surrounded by positive, like-minded people who try and get healthy. So the only catch is just please, let's send me some positive people into the gym so that I can give them that VIP experience, okay? All that aside, what did you like about the club?
Perfect. I mean, well, sorry. What did you feel? How did you feel about that?
I have to, it's interesting because I feel like I'm a pretty happy person overall, but I have to be mindful of when I'm smiling and not smiling. I feel like I kept going in and out of it. Like I would catch myself every once in a while, be like, oh shit, not smiling, smile again. So, which is weird. Like I feel like I'm a pretty positive, outgoing person, but maybe it's just that we're practicing and that's kind of affecting it or whatever. But I wonder if, yeah, so that was the one thing for me. I mean, I don't feel like I stumbled too much. I mean, I wasn't really trying to force myself to stick to the script, but I was kind of keeping to the general feel of it. So, I mean, overall felt pretty good.
I agree with you. And what I would also add on to what you're saying is, so you know how yawning is contagious, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know how, a negative thought can create a negative emotion, and that becomes contagious too. Smiling is as equally contagious as yawning. So what I mean by that is there's deliberate reasons. So when you're delivering, like, remember how I said smile when you deliver the message, nobody likes negative people, right? That's actually given the permission to smile. So Ben, I'm sure you're a lot like me, where you don't really like being around negative people. You like being around positive and like-minded people, right? Yeah, well,
Right.
we do too. So if you are going to refer or sponsor anybody here, do me a favor. Just, if they are going to be a negative Nancy, so to speak, right? If they are going to be a negative Nancy, so to speak, just please do me a favor. Nobody wants to feel like their workouts are like another job and they got to be surrounded by negative people. So if they're positive, sponsor them. If they need a little positivity in their life and you feel like they could get positive, see how my eyes widen and I'm still smiling, and you feel like they can get positive, right? Then definitely sponsor those people too, so long as we can incorporate and inject that positivity in them. Now, look at my eyebrows. I mean, I get into it, man, and I know it's probably over the top sometimes, but I mean, if we're really talking about how to dominate referrals, man, I'm telling you, there's not a lot of things that I could double down on and say that I'm going to brag for a minute. There's not a lot of things that I could say that I absolutely crush. With PT conversions, you're probably way better at it. Adam's way better at it. When it comes to organization, other people will be. When it comes to prospecting and referrals, it's just natural for me at this point. And until you keep going through the motions, the tonalities, the speed, the body language, the smiling is infectious. Anytime you're delivering something where you want to tap into their when you can do that and smile, it creates open-mindedness. It creates genuine authenticity. So remember that when you say, hey, I think of myself as a positive person, I agree with you. I do. I think you're a very positive person. I think that your body language doesn't create positivity. If I'm being
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. My body language wasn't what?
Your body language does not create positivity. And when you go back and you replay this, watch the very first one that you are doing where you lip serviced it. I think the words that I would use to describe some of it, not all of it, could be intimidating, could be informative, but not empathetic, right? And until you in the end went like, hey, you went, hey, all that aside, and you went like this, what'd you think about? And that's when you smiled, right? So don't forget your facial expression. God gave you teeth. Now, God gave me yellow teeth because I love coffee, but God gave you teeth. The more you flash those things, the more you're inviting somebody into your soul. And I know that's corny as heck, but when they flash back, they're inviting you into theirs. All right. And that goes with mostly all relationships, right? Try getting somebody to say no. It's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. Try getting somebody to say no and smile at the same time. It's pretty hard. Like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? No. I mean, if they do that, it's really a yes, right? Like, my point is when somebody smiles and you're getting it back, man, you got it. You already know you're getting a referral right then and there. If they smile and they're smiling back, you're getting a referral. Game on. All right, so let's cut for a little bit. How are you feeling about this part?
Good. No, I mean, I think that just the role play and giving a little bit of feedback, because I think the only person I've actually like role played this with is Tommy. And so and that was even before you and I started talking more about like get away from the free part, because people kind of have that, they get closed-minded as the catch and all that kind of stuff. So so this is good, like getting some of the next level stuff for the body language and like the facial expressions, that kind of thing. I don't know how much I smile when I talk to people. I think that I've even thought about it in the past where like sometimes I think I'm smiling, but if I'm looking in the mirror, I just look neutral. I don't, unless I'm like really excited, like I don't usually flash teeth that much. It's like, so I don't know where that per se comes from. But yeah, so that's good. I mean, I don't know if you want to do it today or a different day as far as step 2 and maybe even step 3, because I forgot about step 3, by the way. I know we've talked about that. I didn't write myself a little mini script for step 3, which I know is at the door. But
so let's do step 2. Let's go to step 2. I mean, I budgeted for about an hour. I don't know what our time is at, but
all right, we're about 11:45. So I budgeted for an hour as well.
Yeah, let's keep going. I mean, I can go to about 12:15 if we need to, but I don't know. I don't want to hijack too much of your time, but let's go. So step 2 is the step where, again, we're cutting through some of the scenes here.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2 is the scene where you've gotten them the verbal commitment. They've agreed to one of the memberships. You're sitting down in the office and you say something along the line, and you might have their their bank account information and their license in your hand, right? Like they give you something and you say, hey, I need your license to kind of activate the membership. I'm going to get your key fob. It's going to take a few minutes to kind of get it activated in the meantime. And then boom, this is step 2. They've given you something or they've given you a commitment verbally. You're letting them know it's going to take a couple minutes to activate the key card, and boom. Oh, by the way, remember that sponsorship, that VIP sponsorship program we were kind of talking about on the floor? Now, do you want me to kind of go through it, or do you want to take the lead?
Yeah, no, we went through before. Again, this second part, I did write myself a little mini script. I'll try to not go right off of it. Kind of use some of the stuff we've already talked about. But we can jump right into that part under these. So what we had talked about last time was kind of based on, they pick a membership option, and that was kind of where we started step 2 from.
Yes. So if you're coaching this, right? So here's I'm peeling back the layers here, and this is something where, listen, I'm giving you Superman powers. So I got to be careful, because you can use those powers for bad or good, but you're going to be using them for good, because Superman's best power is his heart. So that's your heart, right? So you're going to use what I'm about to tell you as a good power. The object of this is to create stimulus where they're following what you want. So you and J-Mac, without even doing it. Now, I've talked to you guys and I said, take a pen, put it in their face. Why do you think we do that?
I mean, because you want them to take the pen. Once they have the pen, it's an obstacle being removed. You're creating an obstacle, but they can take the obstacle and then they're going to do something with it. That's the thing that we want. It's a stimulus response.
So there's 3 stimulus and response. That's if I'm really opening up the doors to this in this step, there's 3 stimulus response. Number 1 is what?
You holding something out.
That's the stimulus. What's the response?
To take it.
Okay. Number 2, and if you want to write this down, this is good. There's 3 stimulus response to this exercise. And again, I know I only kind of talked to you about these things, but Ben, just be careful coaching other team members on this, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 stimulus response. Number 1, when you put a pen in somebody's face, what do? That's stimulus response number 1.
They take it.
Yep. Number 2 is, when you were a kid, did you think you were going to be famous?
Yeah, for a little while.
Did you ever make an autograph at least once in your life?
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay. Women, you know what they do for the most part, and this is Dan Kennedy, so I'm not being sexist. This is Dan Kennedy tell us. When they saw a boy in high school that they liked, you know what they used to do? They used to write their first name and their last name. They used to autograph it, right? Mm-hmm. So the stimulus that we're going to create is we want them to autograph their name or approve. People love approving shit. We're going to approve their name. So the second stimulus is, once they grab that pen, we want them to autograph or approve their name on the form. So what do? Do you remember what step the second stimulus is that I create in order to get the response? We're going
to tell them that people always forget to write their name down.
Yep. And what do we do? So what do we do?
We point at it, point at the paper.
I tap at it. I tap. I literally would tap. So if I say, hey, will you do me a favor? Everybody always forgets. And we've had such a huge response by the community where everybody's been joining up. And if you forgot to at least just put your name down, you wouldn't even get a credit for anybody that's joining up here. So will you do me a favor before we even do anything? Will you do me a favor? Just put your name down right there. Or can I get your John Hancock? Or will you put your approval right here with your first and last name? And then I tap. I mean, you can't see my hand on top screen, and I tap right there, and I'm nodding up and down with my head. Stimulus, I'm nodding up and down with my head, and I'm tapping with I want them to approve. What do you think the majority of the time the response is going to be?
I mean, I would imagine at the very least they're going to look at it because you're drawing attention to it. But I mean, if they're inclined to want to sign something, and people like signing things, it's quick and easy. I feel like it's almost going to be automatic.
So you're saying a word that I don't like. What's the word that I don't like that you just said?
Quick and easy?
Sign.
Okay, fair enough.
My subconscious just went, bing, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. The last time I had to sign was a 50-year mortgage, and it screwed my house, right? Man, I'm telling you, it's so delicate. Every time, it's like a point-based system. You want to get to a certain point where you have like 100 points, and then you're gonna ask for that referral. And anytime you go backwards by using a bad word or creating a negative response, you're bringing it down a level, right? So, and again, I'm being super high level here, but when you say the word sign, you just negated everything you did. You might as well just kick them in the teeth, right? So, hey, this and I wouldn't even say form. Hey, you remember that VIP sponsorship program I was talking about? Well, listen, it's going to take me a couple minutes to activate your key. While I'm activating your key and setting up your assessment with your trainer here, whatever your lingo is, right? It's going to take me a couple minutes. So in the meantime, you remember that sponsorship program we were talking about? Well, golly, man, we've had such an amazing response to it. I figure I might as well let you know. If you could get a free year membership, that'd be something that interests you, yes? So the way that it works out is for every person that you sponsor, you get a free month of membership. And Anytime Fitness has been so rewarding with this because they really love being around people who are like-minded and positive. And when people work out, they're typically like-minded and positive, that if you just got 4 people that you sponsored and they end up getting involved, you get a whole free year membership. Now, all you have to do in order to get active in this, it's really simple. You just got to take this pen and just do me a favor. Before you forget, just jot. And remember how I told you before I use the word jot? Just do me a favor. Jot your name down right then and there, right here. And it's going to take me a couple minutes. So jot down anybody that you think could use a little positivity in their life or you think really could benefit by getting a little bit healthier here in Anytime Fitness. Now, they already may be healthy. That's great. But you loved it here. And when you work out with friends and family members, it's really awesome.
Hold on 1 second, boss.
All right, go for it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there. You are not the guy who was here when I was here during the summer, but I would like to. I was here for a couple of months this summer, and I signed up for the time I was here, and I'm going to be here for about a month.
Okay, sure.
I would like to.
Can I get back to you, boss?
Roger. I've got my key right here.